This country, like this landscape is incredible. And when this place is looking healthy, the abundance here, it's like a kaleidoscope of life. Biodiverse plant species. The bird life out here is incredible. We've got some beautiful wildlife. Obviously the livestock that we have. But in a drought, and particularly when you have droughts that go on for as long as they do out here because of climate change, everything just slowly disappears.
One of the reasons that we moved here was it would be a reliable rainfall area. We would always be able to farm on it. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's turns out to be an accurate assumption or not. We haven't grown a soybean crop now for at least 3 years, and the last oat crop we got was that one we baled in September 2020. It's just too dry. Drier dries, wetter wets, because we just don't know what's going to happen. It's the confusion. Not having a crop means we don't have the feed to maintain the cattle. I'm coming in, no kicking, thank you. Here we go. You can see that some of these cattle are doing better than others. Just enough feed to just sustain them. We simply can't afford to keep buying hay. This, you know, if this was going to be normal, well, we just wouldn't be able to run cattle. If you look at these cattle, they're not exactly fat, are they, you know?
These are weaner cattle, and so they've come off their mums. They've had some feed in the cattle yards, and we've done some training with them. Hence the reason they Yeah, we love our animals, and I think just like people, animals have personalities, and certainly, as you can see, some have more personality than others. Originally, we were beef cattle farmers, and we are still in beef cattle, but we are more broadly red meat producers because we now have meat sheep and goats on the farm as well. When you go through an 8-year drought, you really have time to sit back and ask yourself questions about why you're doing the things you're doing and is that the best way. So we sort of have been on a huge learning curve over the last 13 years to really understand this country and try and make the most of working with the country. Most farmers are optimists by nature. You have to be, because it's a gamble. There's so many things that you can't control, but the things we can control, we need to be on top of. And farmers are pragmatic people, and so you do see the realities of what's ahead of us, but we also look for ways to come up with solutions.
We've certainly seen a stark change in climate at Cresbrook. We've now had the most significant periods of drought. 2022 was our second wettest year on record. This year, 2023, we are currently sitting at our second driest year on record, and we've never seen a turnaround in climate that quickly. Given livestock prices and effects of climate, it's really been now that renewables energy and that solar income that has been keeping our property profitable. So these trackers went in 2010, and we've got another 8 trackers which are similar to this on other parts of the property. They track the sun, they're not fixed. It's actually helped to diversify income, reduce costs associated with energy usage. 13 years later, the solar trackers have paid for themselves 4 times over.
In my family, there's been multiple generations now that have sort of been involved in the agricultural industry and lived on the land and love that kind of lifestyle. This region's really volatile seasonally, hot, dry, long droughts, but it demands that you be innovative, and you have to love it. A few years ago now, I actually reached out to this regenerative rancher called Alejandro Carrillo, who's based in the Chihuahuan Desert in Mexico. And so his challenges were probably much greater than ours. But he had terrific results. He's now getting, some green growth in his grass nearly all year round. That's massively inspirational. I guess one of the real benefits of learning from people like Alejandro is to look at an example where somebody has been working really hard for the last 15 to 20 years on improving soil health, improving biodiversity and ground cover, really getting that right. It's really critical to have a vibrant, engaged, curious community that are all, egging each other on and cheering each other on.
It wasn't business as usual after the drought. It was flip our thinking completely and what does country need to recover and how do we work with the country to go forward. Yeah, we need to make a profit and we're in the red meat business, but we want that red meat to be sustainable. We want that red meat to come with a guarantee that we are good stewards of the land. We will be carbon net zero by 2030 as an industry. As farmers, we have to take action in terms of climate change. There's no one-size-fits-all way to reducing emissions, but there's lots of solutions out there.
When people ask about my daughter or the next generation in general, I find it, the stubborn part in me wants to go, well, I actually always cared. Like, it doesn't even matter that I now have a daughter. And so I know that if we do the right thing by the land, it'll come back. It's so resilient. But there is only so much that you can do on the ground. We can go our hardest to adapt. We can be part of the solution. We can reduce our emissions as an industry. We can help with all those things. It's beyond time that we got a bit more organised in all levels of government. And I would just really love it if I knew that everyone else was hustling too.
I think it's so dumb not to take action on the impacts we've had on our climate. We're splitting the place up into lots more paddocks, and we'll be able to put cattle in those paddocks and graze them in a better managed way, and hopefully that'll regenerate our soils. So if we can have a planet for my grandkids that has clean air and clean water, then I reckon we're doing okay. And I'm convinced that Australia is a country that can be a role model, and we can influence the whole world directly and indirectly by modelling good behaviour.
Tricks. I can walk the dogs every afternoon in pretty much a beautiful sunset. There's a lot of peace in that. Climate change is making it tougher. Of course, I know there are challenges, but I also know that we can handle them. I have immense faith in the people, You know, they're not just tough. They're also like full of cheek and good humour, and they're curious and they're innovative because they have to be. And without that innovation and curiosity, we won't survive.